All right, well, the traditional landline telephone seems to be on the decline, especially at startup environments where we know a lot of companies rely on messaging services as a primary means of communication. But one company is finding opportunity in that commercial market. So joining us now is Alan Masarek, CEO of internet telephone company Vonage. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, thank you.
Moving from a consumer brand to more of an enterprise brand. So talk to us about what is going on at the company. Of course, we had second quarter earnings not too long ago.
Right.
Moving into a transformational cloud business. What exactly is going on?
So what we're doing is a full transformation of Vonage as it was originally created 17 years ago. So Vonage created for the consumer, for the residential telephone market, created basically residential VoIP, voice over IP. Over the last 3 years, we've moved very aggressively into the business market. So, and what you see is over the course of this, just over 3 years, now fully more than 1/2 of our revenues come from business cloud communications. Beginning in this Q3, it's now the larger of our two segments. So consumer is still a very important component of the business, generates a tremendous amount of cash flow for the company, but we're well into this transformation. And now with where we sit in business cloud communications from a market share point of view, we're actually the largest in the market today in business cloud communications.
Oh,
go ahead.
What is the pitch then to get businesses on board?
So what's happened in communications is it's no longer think of it as a phone call or a text message or a video session, which in the past were disparate events and you couldn't connect the three. They were separate channels, separate modes of communication. Think how often you've been on the phone on your landline and said, I've got to leave and go for a meeting, I'll call you back from my mobile phone. That's because the landline was one proprietary sort of path of communication and your mobile is a completely different one that were disconnected. Now what's happened is a trend called unified communications, where regardless of the mode, audio, voice, or messaging, or video, it's all on the internet. It's all the IP protocol, internet protocol. So you can go mode to mode, device to device seamlessly. So you've unified the communications. And while doing that for businesses, you've also take their former on-premise phone system that used to sit on a piece of hardware in the closet on-premise, and that's now moved to the cloud. So the magic happens when you combine this ubiquity of communication with putting the software up in the cloud. You have this infinite scalability, and it's really changing the way people work. So now you have a much more collaborative environment, and it's driving better business outcomes for our customers.
Is there a certain segment that you guys are going after? Is it small, medium businesses? Or are you guys going after Fortune 500 companies? Or in terms of sectors of the economy, are you guys trying to hit retail or tech? Where's the growth area for you?
Well, we're going across the full range of business customers because communications is about as horizontal going across every sector as there possibly could be of any particular application category. So we serve the SMB segment all the way up to the largest enterprise. In the last 2 quarters, we've announced 8 very large, what I like to refer to as whale-sized deals that have $50 million in contract value across 8 deals. Now, that's one end of the market as enterprises are moving aggressively into cloud communications and giving up their on-premise solutions. And at the same time, we sell thousands and thousands of logos every quarter of SMBs. So we're running the full range up and down.
The stock's near its highest levels here in practically a decade. So in terms of the success of bringing on the clients and in terms of how it's affected margins, in terms of marketing spend, is that something that the company plans to spend more heavily on going forward to get more in the enterprise space on board?
Absolutely. So what we have done is we have taken the marketing dollars that we used to spend. Think about Vonage as a brand. It's almost iconic. Everyone knows the Vonage brand because Vonage was an enormous advertiser in television for a decade, and that's why the brand has so much awareness. We've then shifted what was consumer spending for advertising over to the business segment to then capture the leads, whether they're SMBs or all the way up to large enterprises. We now have about 85,000 businesses, about 700,000 endpoints, and again, the business communication side, Wall Street guidance for us has us just shy of $500 million in revenue in the business segment this year, which puts us #1 in market share within this business cloud communications segment.
How do you guys think about competition in terms of the rise of inter-office chat? So a company like Slack,
Yeah.
private company worth at the latest valuation about $5 billion. Seems to be a kind of product a lot of startups are using. And then also we have Facebook and Amazon working on products that are similar to that. How would that complement or even compete with your offering?
So communications is going to become a part of it's become unified across the way. So where you'll see in a Slack type of solution, it's really what they'll refer to as work stream messaging. And there are many, many variants of work stream messaging. Increasingly what you're seeing is not only are you unified across voice, video, and messaging, but those collaborative systems are integrated in as well. So whether it is the old phone system or the contact center or the workstream messaging, it's all integrated together. So I think companies that are focused on one as opposed to several, I think over the long haul may run some risk to those who can provide the full bundle.
We know your company too is also partnered and working with IBM Watson, and so if someone is using your services, what do they get out of that?
So our partnership with IBM Watson, what's exciting about that is it's all about the new sort of the new wave of artificial intelligence. And so that connecting with Watson, you can, we just announced last quarter something with Staples. So the easy button, we're all familiar with the easy button for reordering your supplies. Now connected with the intelligence within Watson and our ability to connect on the communication side, we turn the Watson button, if you will, into this more predictive scheduling or ordering system for your supplies. And it's all about this notion, what we're getting to is something that we all refer to as contextual communications. So think about how communications frequently can be frustrating in the past. So think about you're on an airline's website and you're booking a flight and you're 10 minutes into the session and you have a problem. So what do? You pick up the phone and call the airline. What do we have to do? You start over. They have no concept of the itinerary you're trying to book. They don't have any notion of the context. So what you can envision with this contextual communication is when you hit click to call within the website, it understands the context. It understands I was trying to book a flight from Tokyo to Shanghai, and it would route me through the communications platform to the right agent. And you can envision they picking the phone up and saying, "Hi, Mr. Masarek, I see you're trying to book a flight from Tokyo to Shanghai next Thursday. How can I help?" What you're doing with these now contextual communications is you're restoring that personalization, that customer intimacy that tends to get lost in digital businesses. Digital businesses have wonderful scalability, but you can lose the personalization. Now, through these communication features, you restore the personalization.
How do you think about the wireless industry? And how does your company think about the wireless industry? Because I could easily envision a future where we're making calls only using our data plans. It's higher quality and data with the way that maybe perhaps cable companies are rolling out shared Wi-Fi networks.
Yep.
And like a Comcast could be interested, or Comcast is interested
Sure.
in getting involved in wireless. I can easily envision a future where we're not buying minutes anymore each month. What does that future look like to you, and how are you guys preparing for that future?
Well, I like to think of this as not a phone, consistent with what you're saying about people accessing the data plan, the data network, not the voice network. It's not a phone. It's just a device that can get on the internet that has a speaker and a microphone. Just like your computer can get on the internet, has a speaker and a microphone, or your tablet, or what have you. By virtue of all the communications now being IP enabled, so the voice goes over the data network, not over
like
the
a
voice
FaceTime
network.
or a WhatsApp call
That's
or a
precisely
Messenger
right.
call.
So what's happened is now you make the device sort of agnostic. It doesn't matter if I started a conversation or a video session on this device and moved to your tablet or moved to your computer. They're simply microphones and speakers that can access the internet, because the whole notion of VoIP, remember, is voice over IP. FaceTime, Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or WeChat or Line or what have you, those are messaging over the internet. A ton of other voice over the internet. FaceTime is voice over the internet. So the notion is now that you've normalized the communication pathway with the internet, you no longer are tied to an individual device. nor an individual mode of communication, voice, video, text.
So do you see in a number of years that phone numbers are going to go away?
I think phone numbers might go away. The reason phone numbers will persist is only for individual identity. I need to know when I'm communicating with you who you are, and a phone number is an individual identity. But if I'm in the app, so if I'm iMessage or FaceTime, obviously I don't need your phone number. It's an in-app communication going across IP. But the world of IP, you can't necessarily rely on the fact that that person on the other side of the world has that same app as you. So you need to be able to, regardless of app, you need to be able to go across the IP networks in order to get to that person. And phone numbers are those individual identifiers.
Over the next 5 years or so, what are the opportunities in the cloud for your company?
The opportunities are enormous. The cloud communications market is about a $30 billion TAM today. It's growing well into sort of the mid to high 20s. On-premise communications are declining about 8% a year in favor of this growth in cloud communications. So you see a very large market today, which is growing quickly simply because of the benefits that I've described as you move from old proprietary systems. And the same token is communications are being used differently. So it's expanding the number of use cases. So I'll give you an example. With Uber, when you want to communicate with your Uber driver, we will spawn a proxy number in the local area code so that you can either text or call the driver. You think you're calling the driver's personal number. You're not. It's a proxy number. It happens to be in the local area code. And the notion is it protects the privacy of the passenger, and also Uber doesn't want you knowing the driver's phone number for fear that you might go around the Uber system and just book directly with that particular driver. So the notion is Uber's a mobile booking service and obviously extraordinarily successful and an important customer for us. They now have embedded communications functionality with us and others that has nothing to do with the phone system. It's simply using communications to make Uber better because you connect with the driver or the driver with you because you can't find one another. They only get paid if passenger gets in driver's car. So you use communications now in a very lightweight way through our application. It's a series of microservices so that they can embed communications into this mobile booking service so passenger and driver connect. There's thousands of use cases that are expanding all the time where communications just make the underlying website or mobile app or business process better.
All right, Al Masarek, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Again, Chief Executive Officer over at Vonage. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, my pleasure.